Video we'll talk about another historical mistake found in the Quran. If we go to Surah Ali Imran chapter 3 and specifically ayah 93, we read that Israel aka Jacob forbade things for himself. To understand what he exactly forbade for himself, we have to go to the tafsir, the commentary, to understand the context behind this verse. In tafsir or the commentary by Ibn Kathir, for the verse we read, a group of Jews came to Allah's Prophet and said, "Talk to us about some things we will ask you and which only a prophet would know." Notice, the Jews of Medina asked Muhammad 4 questions which only a prophet would know how to answer, and they made an agreement together. If Muhammad would answer correctly, they would give their pledge to Allah, and the Jews said, "We agree." Question number 1 was, what kind of food did Israel or Jacob prohibit for himself? So Muhammad answered, "I ask you by he who sent down the Torah to Moses," which is the Torah. "Do you not know that Israel once became very ill? When his illness was prolonged, he vowed to Allah that if he cures his illness, he would prohibit the best types of drink and food for himself." Then Muhammad asked the Jews, was not the best food to him camel meat and the best drink camel milk? The Jews answered, "Yes, by Allah." Bruh. Wait a second, this whole story doesn't make any sense. The eating of camel meat became forbidden after Jacob. To be precise, the eating of camel meat became forbidden for the Israelites much later in the time of Moses, which is at least 169 years later after Jacob's timeline. So this is another funny yet unforgivable historical mistake in the Quran. How can Allah and His Prophet make such unforgivable mistakes, not seeing through the tricky questions and the trap set up by the Jews? Well, clearly the God of Islam and his false prophet are not that smart after all. As you may notice, the Jews of Medina were geniuses. By asking him such tricky questions, they proved that Muhammad is a false prophet. He never realized that it was a trap. He never saw it coming, my friends. And this is exactly why the Jews of Medina rejected him. The Jews of Medina kept making fun of Muhammad, mocking him and setting traps for him by deliberately asking him these tricky questions and even confirming his wrong answer by saying, "Yes, by Allah." Bruh, these Jews were smart. I would have died laughing if I was a Jew from Medina in the 7th century. The Jews knew whatever Muhammad hears, he will put it in his Quran anyway, even if it's false. And remember, one of the nicknames of Muhammad was the ear, the copy-paste machine of the 7th century. I wanted this video to be as short as possible to focus on this very important point. So I'm not going to address the rest of the questions which the Jews fired at Muhammad. We might discuss the rest of these questions in a later live stream or video in the future. Thanks for watching. Stay away from Islam.